Hey friends, how's it going? Happy Tuesday. Happy to a new week as well. It's great to be here with you. If you're joining us on the replay, a big happy replay to you as well. We're live and I'm excited to have you be part of today's Level Up conversation.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, I'm Winnie, your host, CNBC Council member, Forbes contributor, and award-winning financial pro, here to keep you on top of relevant, trending business news. And most importantly, you're part of today's conversation. I love this is giving you a chance to jump in, definitely share some comments with me. Let me know where you're joining us from. And if you did anything special this weekend or anything on your radar, I always love to hear from you. So be monitoring comments live throughout the show. And I would love to get your feedback because it's audience participation. Now, let's start with this. We're going to go through and start with how the market closed, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the trending business news that I want to make sure that are on your radar, because we want to prepare you as we go into the end of the year here. And we're also going to finish up with Ask Winnie Anything. And I see many questions have come in this week. Once again, we're going to take a couple questions and we're going to close off. So that's how it's going to be. It's going to be a really lively show, and I'm excited to have you with us today. Now, let's start with the market, let you know how that closed. Unfortunately, I wish there was better news, but really today was a pretty awful day on the financial markets. The Dow closed down 569 points, the Nasdaq down 420 points, and the S&P 500 also down 90 points. U.S. stock market fell terribly today, with tech leading the drop. As we're really paying attention to lawmakers in Washington right now, as there continues to be sort of that stalemate, if you will, on the budget. The Nasdaq today dropped almost 2.5%, on track for its worst day since May. That's never a good thing. S&P dropped also 2%, and the Dow Industrial Average also dipped, as you saw, over 500 points closing. It actually improved a little bit. It was down about 400, 300 at some point, but it did close down over 500 points. Now, why is this happening? Now, investors are betting that the Fed is going to carry through its promise of really reducing some of the stimulus bond buying activities. And we're seeing inflation continue to jump as we go into the end of the year, into the holiday season. This is a really tricky moment for the markets because the market is in the middle of another rise in interest rates. This is causing many of us, those of us who are investing and investing public, even advisors, to really move around and seeing where the safe areas are. Should we do some profit taking? Should we do some tax harvesting before the end of the year? So you're seeing a lot of movement in the financial markets, definitely a lot of what I would say volatility in the financial markets. Now, here's what we do know also, though. It hasn't been all bad. And although it's not as good as previous quarters, the last quarter, believe it or not, hasn't actually been horrible. It's actually been, in many ways, pretty good, especially considering that we're still having to deal with the Delta variant, with the pandemic, what's going on in China, to inflation here in the United States, to also much higher interest rates. In fact, we're seeing mortgage interest rates kind of leap this week. And so those of you who maybe are on the fence, maybe you've been looking to buy another property, buy a home, maybe buy investment property, you don't like it when interest rates go up like they have in the last week, because that can quickly make your payment a lot higher. And of course, inflation is not a good thing. Now, what we're also seeing, and why investors are getting really skittish right now, and you see this big drop in the financial markets today, is our government here in the United States is still trying to figure out what they're going to do about the debt ceiling. They got to make up their decisions sooner than later. Hello, Wendy. It's great to see you on YouTube Live. I see Wendy Barker. Thank you so much. And those of you, I see a lot of you joining us today. Let us know where you're joining us from. Now, Janet Yellen is also sharing that the United States could default on its debt in a matter of weeks, by October 18th, in fact, if Washington, D.C. fails to take action to raise the debt ceiling here in the United States. A U.S. default would likely be extreme and very challenging and is projected to hurt the stock market and our U.S. economy. And there's more. Delaying government payments to millions of Americans who rely on those government payments. So you know who you are. And you know if you're getting your paycheck from the US government, this is definitely not the time you want to seize payments happening, especially as we're dealing with inflation, we're dealing with colder weather, and we're dealing with a lot of the year-end challenges here. Not to mention the holidays, right? So preparing for winter, those of you who are with me on the show know one of my favorite things to do is obviously read financial news, but also share that news with you so that you can prepare for the future, because planning is so key. And oftentimes, if you pay very close attention to financial news, it can kind of give you some hints on things to think about into the future, like near future, and also plan ahead. We know we're going into the winter. We're certainly knowing we're going into the holiday season, but is there more? There is. So winter is coming, and we're almost in October this week, where we are, I guess, by Friday, and things are getting a lot more expensive really quickly. And as temperatures are dropping here this fall and winter, one thing you need to pay attention to is the price of natural gas. Now, as you may know, many of us use natural gas to heat our homes. But did you also know that the prices of natural gas has increased more than 180% over the past 12 months to now $5.90 per million British thermal units? So this makes it so that these prices haven't been this high since February of 2014. Now, why is this important? Okay, so natural gas is getting more expensive, obviously going into the cold season. So we're probably going to need to heat our houses. And many of you may be like me. You might even have a stove that is run on natural gas as well, right? Wendy is saying heating bills, cooking. Yeah, same here. So you got to pay attention to this. So the financial risk to your monthly budget is this. If there's an early winter or an extremely cold temperatures, if temperatures fall dramatically this winter, many families are going to be forced to crank up the heat. Some maybe not until like November, December, but if it gets colder in October, this might actually start things a little sooner. And as you know, it's all about supply and demand. So the US already has a below average stockpile of natural gas. And this would probably cause prices to go even higher. So if you're like me, you're thinking about this, you're going into the winter, think, okay, inflation prices, things are getting more pricey. What do we do? I'll tell you what we did at my house today. So definitely did inventory. Do we have enough winter blankets as we go into the winter? Are there any cracks around the house that we want to, patch up and make sure that we're nicely insulated before the winter season? And of course, looking at alternatives. If we need to heat our house, maybe, if gas is going to be so expensive and it's not that efficient, maybe looking at getting some electric heaters. Like in my house, that would make sense because we also have solar panels. So electricity is obviously very, very affordable for us. So things like that, keep in mind, pay attention to financial news because this can really make a difference in your monthly budget and your overall financial well-being for you and your loved ones. All right. So a lot of things to think about. I see Wendy saying she's on YouTube Live. She's saying pellet stoves. I don't know what that is, Wendy, but I bet you my co-host on Thursdays, Greg, does. I'm gonna have to ask him about that. All right. Now let's segue to Ask Winnie Anything and answer some of your questions. Okay, great questions. And thank you so much. We got so many questions in, and don't ever be shy. For those of you who have questions, how do you get them to me? Super easy. Whatever your platform you're on, just send them via direct message, or you can, tag me on your questions. So that way my team and I can see it and we can go ahead and add it to our list. Or you can even jump on levelupwithwinnie.com and there's a form in there. You can definitely jump in, add your question. But we want to hear your questions because your questions help everyone. So let's see what we got. Here's the first one. This was a good one. It's very timely. So Winnie, you said September is historically a challenging month for investors. And you are right. Thank you. I know I was right. But what about October? Are we going to see better days ahead? All right, so let's talk about that. Historically, September is pretty challenging, not a great month. And as you see, we're ending the week already today, so only Tuesday, and we didn't have a great market today. But here's what we know about October. October is what they call a seismic month, if you will. Like those of you who live in Southern California, like myself, or in California, seismic is never a good thing. We equate that to earthquakes. And let me just tell you, October is probably going to be an earthquake month. And what that means is you should expect volatility. Historically, October is very much a highly volatile month. October's volatility, in fact, is 36% higher than the average of the other 11 months of the year. So now volatility doesn't necessarily mean the market's going to tank. However, it might. It does mean that the market has big swings. So you could see weeks that do really well and days that do really poorly. So you should expect higher volatility and perhaps a greater number of pullbacks, corrections, and even bear markets. So this is what we're looking at. Usually the start and the end of the month, we see even greater volatility. So let's see what happens. That's just what's happened historically with the financial markets. Hopefully this month will be a little bit better. But as you know, the Federal Reserve is really in focus. And we're really looking at what they're saying. Last week, we heard Fed Chairman Jerome Powell testify twice before Congress talking about the pandemic and policies and increasing interest rates and what we're going to do about inflation. Then Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has been talking also in and out, talking about the European Central Bank panel and also bank leadership, and also what's happening here, right? Whether or not we're going to be able to raise that debt ceiling before the government runs out of money. Yikes. Yeah, a lot of craziness. Now, we do know a lot of things are going to happen. Hopefully, we can avoid a government shutdown this week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, let's see. Thank you so much for your question, by the way. Really great question. Let's go to the next question. Okay, so last quarter of the year, what should we be paying attention to? You've said planning is key. So what should I be planning? All right, great question. Thank you so much for asking this. In fact, I actually think planning is always key. So if you're watching me today, thank you so much for doing that. And keep on coming back. Keep on watching the segments. They're short and sweet. They get you to the information that you need to be paying attention to. And you can just move on with your day. Now, recently there was news out of Costco, Nike, and FedEx. Okay, this is just a representation of many companies, obviously. But they've been warning consumers the prices are going to be rising before year end, before the end of this year. So what can you do? I mean, this is really big. This is near-term inflation, right? So there's a lot of factors, including shipping costs, supply chain bottlenecks. We've been hearing that from some of the auto manufacturers as well. They're having issues getting supply and demand issues. And we're having an upcoming holiday. We're also talking about the issue of like not getting enough people to go back to work, right? Employers are actually having labor issues as well. Well, here's what we know from Costco. Costco has said that, they're looking at near-term inflation of 3.5% to 4.5% in the near term. Now, as you know, this is much higher than our historical inflation levels, about 2.5 to 3%. So they're also noting that paper products in particular are seeing a cost increase of 4 to 8%. And also plastic and pet products are driving up prices from 5 to 11%. Okay, so this is just Costco examples. I mean, not to mention everything else. FedEx is also saying that the cost of getting shipments is definitely a big surge. In fact, they're saying just recently a 40-foot container that used to be sent between Shanghai to New York normally would cost $2,000 just a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic. It would cost $2,000 to ship a 40-foot container from China in Shanghai to New York. But now, because of the pandemic, that's running $16,000. Do the math there. That's a significant increase. $2,000 to $16,000 in just a matter of like about 18 months. This is according to a recent study that came out. So that means the cost of goods are definitely increasing because these companies have to send these costs somewhere. They're not going to absorb all the costs for themselves. So a lot of that cost is coming to you and I as consumers. So you might see saying, okay, well, Winnie, that's great and all. And I mean, it's not great, but what are we going to do about it? There's not much we can do about it. Is there? Well, here are some suggestions I have as we go into the end of the year that you can definitely think about. So maybe, you want to gift somebody, maybe you really want to gift them a pair of Nikes, or you really want to buy that something great from Costco or any other Target, Walmart, it could be any retailer. What can you do, right? So here's what I would say is obviously if you can postpone certain larger gifts until later on, that would be beneficial to you as the consumer as well as the receiver, because the cost of goods is just so much more expensive now. So this is what I would suggest you do. Now, if you can, if there's ways that you can buy things cheaply or reduce things, that would be good. But what we're going to do at my house is this. We're going to do what we normally do, which is really to focus on experiences rather than material goods. So this year, maybe do a road trip, maybe get together with family, something safe and something really meaningful, and put less emphasis on those material goods. Just get through the holiday season. Now, if you really still feel a need to give a gift, instead consider a gift card, right? Buy a gift card to a retailer. Maybe if you really want to get someone that you love that pair of Nikes, but they're just so expensive, get them that gift card. Then they can take the time to wait until prices get a little bit more reasonable, look for a good deal. And so you're still getting that gift without going overboard, right? Not having to deal with some of these near-term inflation issues. So prepare for these holidays. There's a lot of things that you can do right now to be really smart. Keep a budget, start a budget. If you haven't done so already, check out mybudgetworksheets.com and download your free budget worksheet. So that's mybudgetworksheet.com. Download your free budget worksheet. Get in tune with your budget before the end of the year. And these are things that are going to really make a big difference. And with that, thank you so much with these questions. That's a great question. I hope this information was helpful. And as always, I look forward to seeing you very soon. I mean, I want you to come on Thursday. Thursday, we're going to do a really fun show. Those of you know my co-host for In the Loop, Greg Nibbler, on Thursday, we're actually going to share with you the latest developments that are coming out of Amazon. This is going to be good. You're going to keep some of this information on your radar. Lots of new programming information as well to really get you through October. So thank you so much, my friends, for watching, supporting our program. Take a moment to share this show with someone that you care about, maybe even on social media. Tag us. We'd love to see it. And as a reminder, you can find full episodes on Level Up on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And as a tease, in October, we'll come into a really, really exciting new market. We can't wait to share with you in the coming weeks. Be well, my friends, and I can't wait to see you again very soon. Bye-bye now.